I was investigating violence in South Africa between October 91 and April 94. I read about the new media reports about the establishment of the ICTY, but I knew very little about the former Yugoslavia. The phone rang and there was the unmistakable voice of Nelson Mandela, who was then president, and he said, Richard, I understand you've been invited to become the chief prosecutor of the Yugoslavia Tribunal. I told the Secretary General Boutros-Ghali that you will do it. And my heart entered my stomach, and I said, but what about the Constitutional Court, which I'd been told a few days before that Mandela wanted me on 4 existing judges to go on to be one of the 11 new justices. And he said, well, don't worry about that. He said, the cabinet met earlier today and we've decided to amend the Constitution to make it possible for you to go all for 2 years. He said, I've told the Secretary General we will spare you for 2 years, not for the 4-year term. And that's acceptable. So that's how I came into it, and it was a dive into the deep end. And he added, I remember laughing to myself, he said, you're a clever chap, you'll learn it all very quickly. Part of the excitement was putting together new approaches and amalgamating the approaches of different countries. It was informal. I mean, there was nobody sat down and worked out rules. I mean, they sort of developed. 3 of the lawyers in the Tuddage trial, which was the first trial, approached Minna, and she brought them to speak to me. 1 American prosecutor, one English and 1 Scottish. And the English barrister said to me, under my system, he said, to interview a witness before the witness gives evidence is unprofessional conduct for which I can be disbarred. And the Scottish barrister said, in Scotland that's also a rule, but it's also a criminal offence, I can end up in prison. And the Americans said, well, under my system, if I don't interview, it's unprofessional and I can be disbarred. And our approach immediately was, look, we're not in London, Edinburgh or New York, we're in an international prosecutor's office in The Hague, and of course we've got to interview witnesses. It started off with very soon after, within days of my arriving, I got hundreds of letters, mainly from women, but also from men, from Europe, from US, Canada, begging me to give attention to rape as a war crime. And I was more than impressed, because I wouldn't have been as impressed with a petition signed by 1 million people. These were letters individually handwritten by ordinary people in good English and bad English and in French, and it really made a deep impression. I didn't need any arm twisting, but it certainly goaded me into putting this right at the top of the agenda. And I remember we had 10 witnesses from Tuzla for a Rule 61 proceeding, and I decided I should meet them. And they were really an unhappy group of men and women who were completely in strange surroundings. They were nervous about giving evidence. It had been explained to them, incidentally, that they didn't have to give evidence, they volunteered. They were eager to give evidence, and that was my general experience. Victims want to give evidence. And it was explained to them that they could give evidence anonymously with their faces blacked out and their voices changed, or they could give it openly. 9 of the 10 were eager to do it openly. They said, we want our faces and our voices to be heard, because we're speaking on behalf of all of the victims. Only 1 demurred, and he did for good reason. He had close family in the area, and he feared for their safety if his identity was known. But that was generally the experience, generally with witnesses who were victims of ethnic cleansing, and particularly women who were rape survivors, all wanted to give evidence.